Hello everyone. In this video, we are going to talk about some of the features that will help you sell your flip faster. How you doing, guys? My name is Bud Evans, host of the Aim High podcast, and this is Coach Phil Tudor from South Jersey Real Estate Investors Network. And in this video, we're going to talk about something that's on a lot of people's minds lately.
Coach Phil Tudor from
flipping houses. Specifically, what special features can you add to your house to make it more appealing to buyers and help you sell it a little faster? So how you doing today, Phil?
I'm doing great. How are you?
It's a good day every time I get to come on here with you, buddy, on a Saturday at noon. I got nothing better to do with my time, buddy, than this, right? Unless, of course, we're flipping houses, which is the reason I wasn't here last week. But thank you to Coach JP for jumping in on that one.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, likewise, man. I love these Saturdays now, dropping some awesome knowledge to everyone. Hopefully my computer cooperates with me this week.
Let's hope so, buddy.
I'm about to get a new one.
Yeah, so the title of today's episode, and hopefully it's a little quick, maybe we get some input from people that are going to be watching today, but here's what we're looking for. What is something, Phil, that you can put into a house that will help you sell that property a little bit faster, maybe give you an edge over somebody else who is selling a similar house down the street?
Yeah. 100% Sizzle Features,
Sizzle.
Yeah, absolutely.
Buddy. Right.
Yep.
Yeah, man. So, hey, let's talk about exactly what a sizzle feature is, right? What in your mind, what comes to mind, Phil, when you start thinking about, hey, I'm going to put this in here?
Yeah, so first thing that comes to my mind is like they're back. Sizzle Features are back. We are finally getting back to more of a stable market. For the past like 18 to 24 months. We haven't been using Sizzle Features, and I loved them. I really did. I love spending the extra money and putting in those cool aspects. But yeah, Sizzle Features to me are just kind of like that. What separates me from the other listings out there? What makes me, more attractive to buyers? And that's really just the best way I can sum it up. Is like Sizzle Features are just, they pop. They set me apart from other people, other listings.
Yeah, man. So here's the crazy part, right? In 2018, 2019, when I got into this, that's what we did, right? You had to have something that would get that house to pop in the eyes of the buyer, right? And here we are now in 2020, 2021, and you didn't have to do anything but paint the interior and it would go, right?
Mm-hmm. Over asking.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
How many people would bid on one property? We had 5-10 people that were coming in and bidding 10,000 over,
For sure.
Yeah. And, like staging, there's a question in the chat box right now. Do we stage every time? For the last almost 3 years, you didn't have to.
Yep.
But did you?
Yeah. No. And, staging always for me, to specifically on that question, was more about price point in rural South Jersey. So, in the single family, first time home buyer range, we were never staging. When we got to the higher price points, yes, we were considering staging, and we budgeted for it on the front end. But I will say that because of this new dynamic of the market we're stepping into, I have done light staging, even on my first time home buyer range, because I could just tell by, watching like Zillow or even talking to my realtor about the amount of days on market. So I wanted to give myself a little bit of advantage. But yeah, staging, it's a good question. It's not specific to like necessarily a sizzle feature category for me. It's in its own category. But yeah, just a couple things real quick with staging is be inviting, also letting people know if there's like a little bit of funkiness to your layout. Like for instance, my last property I just sold, check out the post if you haven't checked it out, everyone. Within 94 days made $45,000 profit. My best thanks yeah my best yet to date out of almost 100 deals, as far as time and turnaround and profit margin. But I didn't have an over the range microwave. I had a hood, so I bought a microwave and put it on the countertop. You want to, and I was always taught with the staging is let them envision kind of where things are going to go. And then even like, let's say you have a funkiness to your layout as far as like dining rooms and stuff like that are shared. you want to kind of put the table where, so people can imagine where their table would go. But yeah, staging I put into a different category. Oh, last caveat too would I put in air fresheners, specific type of like warm apple pie smell or something like that, apple cinnamon, yeah.
Yeah. So the reason that I wasn't here last week is because I had two flips that went on the market literally within 5 days of each other. The one didn't even get to market. I put it on the MLS as coming soon and was immediately offered 10,000 over ask before it even hit the market. And that was just to, hey, bud, would you mind if we did a walkthrough before it went on the market? And I said, not without an offer in hand. And they said, well, we're willing to give you 10 over. I said, have fun. Have
Nice.
fun on the walkthrough.
Go
Here's your code.
Yeah.
Have a great
So
time.
what city is that in?
That is in Columbus, New Jersey. That is
Okay.
So it's crazy. That area, it's at the intersection. It's right near the base. So it's Jobstown, Wrightstown, and Columbus are all in that like one little triangle, right? So if I run it on Zillow, I've got to run it as either Jobstown or Wrightstown. If it comes up as Springfield if you run it on the MLS, and sometimes it just comes up as Wrightstown. It's absolutely crazy.
So if you're watching, like I asked that question because, we have a bunch of, when you talk about market analysis or economics of the real estate investor market, each market is different. We have a bunch of little small markets, and even now we're even seeing like micro markets within the small markets, right?
Yeah.
Like that's 35 minutes away from my property that sat a little bit longer, 20 plus days on the market, a bunch of showings, but didn't really get an offer right away. So each market specific, I just encourage everybody all the time to like just look at your days on market in a specific market and keep an eye on that. It's really going to tell you a lot of how you handle your flips or rentals per se, and then also how you budget what you're going to do with them, different things like that. But I think that the topic Sizzle feature for us today is really good because I do believe in general across the board nationwide Sizzle features are on a comeback right now.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And to give you an idea, guys, what we're talking about, I'm going to throw up a couple of photos here. And they're a little small, and I apologize for that in advance, but these are the things we're talking about here. Let's see here, share screen, and here we go. So I'm kind of throwing up a few photos here, Phil. Let me know if you've ever done one of these, pot filler. I don't know what the actual cost is for you or what you've had. This cost us a couple of $100 to run some PVC behind the tile, then put the pot filler in there. It's scalding hot water comes out of it. It's, my wife is Italian, she loves to make pasta. This is a huge benefit for her. If that's your gig, that's your niche. Absolutely go for that. Getting back to what you were saying, Phil, in this house, we had a couple of properties that we've staged. This was one of them. We did a very minor stage with just some things on tables. We didn't actually put furniture in here. The other property that we did a staging to it took the longest for us to sell that. That was in 2020 at the height of the craziness of this market in Collingswood, which is a very quick market to sell in. And I believe that the reason that it didn't sell until after we had, a 3-week staging, and we had a bunch of walkthroughs, but when we took the furniture out, the house sold in 2 days.
Oh, check that out.
Right. Because we were able to walk in there and see like, hey, this is what our house would look like. And this is what we would do with this stuff. Right. And I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. Specific to this house here's one of the features that we considered kind of like, an over the top feature that would differentiate us from another property. Now we were targeting a specific demographic that's, local to that area. Whether or not you do that is entirely up to you. If you're a licensed agent, you're not allowed to do that, but that's okay. We just did this during the design phase, and my wife actually picked out this lamp, this hanging lamp, and the people that came in there a couple of days after we stopped staging, the one of the married couple and the one just said, "I love the lamp." And the other one was, I love the chandelier. And the other was like, I don't know. And You know,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
just
you got to be careful with some of the sizzle features, right?
yeah,
Some of the general ones that I'll throw out there, like under cabinet lighting, isn't
yeah,
always just a standard thing. But I would make sure too, any sizzle features, by the way, like you are having your listing features are specific to identify them, because you're not going to have under cabinet lighting on during the daytime while people are walking it. And also, what we would do often is make sure our professional photos, we had a night shot, and the night shot included the under cabinet lighting as well as the exterior lighting. So be careful that when you got to let them know the sizzle feature is there. They might not know it. You can even do like a sizzle features printout, like a one-page printout, and leave it on the property. Say, hey, FYI, this and that. But yeah, there's specific caveats, like this light right here in certain areas, and I would really consult with your realtors on what they think, local realtors that are walking those specific markets, on what type of specific finishes may be cool for a sizzle feature rather than just a regular surface mount light there, you know. So it definitely creates some atmosphere. I mean, I've had houses where I've done what I thought was a cool light fixture all throughout, and then they sell it, and 3 days later I see them in the trash, and it breaks my heart, But you just got to be selective with this. Some other sizzle features, but I don't know about you, but if you want to keep going, I don't know, we can go through yours, and then I'll kind of drop what
yeah.
I've used in the past.
We had a staircase that we took, and we had this this way to get up there. So we threw in glass where the railings were. It was wrought iron, and then we took it and we were like, now what are we going to do with this space? So we threw up this wine rack, which we got at like a flea market, dude. It was really crazy, right? I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I know exactly what I'm going to do with that, because we had this dead space. So we put up some glass behind it, and because we had a leftover, this is a leftover piece of railing. So we were like, all right, what are we going to do with it? We can put it behind, and now there's a stairwell underneath of this that led to the finished basement. But so we have the glass going up the stairwell, and we had this extra space. And here we had these wine racks. So we staged it. We threw some
Nice.
wines in there. Right
Great.
now, they threw a couple of extra, you know, tens of thousands at us. So we just left the wine.
Oh, go for it.
We were
Yeah,
like,
by all
here's your
means.
gift, right? Thank you
Yeah.
very much. It's about this, like, I think it's like $400 worth of New Jersey wines. And
Yeah.
we're just like, here you go. Have a great time. Enjoy your brand new house. Have one,
Nice.
have a drink on us for the next year
Yeah.
or month, depending on
You
how
make me
much.
think of also too, like I like the lighting underneath the stairwell there.
Exactly.
It's not always common that, when we're looking at these properties, that we're doing recessed lighting or
Hmm.
hi-hats, throughout. That is technically a sizzle feature, dimmer switches, and stuff like that on those hi-hats and those lighting features are you just got to look at, like, I guess the best advice I can give to people, even kind of answer the question that we just got there about when do you lower your price. Like, you need to walk your competition too, to learn your market. Even if you don't want to walk it, go on to Zillow and find what's actively listed against you,
Hmm.
right? And I would even encourage that before you go live with your project, or like, let's say you go under contract, when you're building your scope of work, is to look at those live listings currently, because you're going to be on the market within a few months, hopefully, when you pick it up, and see what your competition is doing. If they don't have the recessed lighting, if they don't have the under cabinet lights, if they don't have a wine rack, or if they don't have custom shower areas, those are where you would now say, okay, these are my sizzle features, because these just set me above and beyond, what they're doing. But yeah, what else you got for us, bud?
Yeah, man. This is going to sound crazy, and it doesn't look like much, but this is a walk-in shower in a bathroom with a soaking tub right behind it. And you have to have an exhaust fan in a bathroom that doesn't have windows.
Mm-hmm.
But we had these 1800s vintage stained glass windows that we put in there that are obviously not able to be opened. So, in order to offset the fact that there's no airflow and we had to put in this exhaust fan, what did we do? We put in a Bose Bluetooth exhaust fan
Mm-hmm. Nice.
in this bathroom, so that when you walk into the bathroom, your phone connects. And while you're in the bathroom, in the shower, you go click and you're listening to whatever jam you decide to listen to
Nice.
in that bathroom.
Yeah, I'm all about that. I
Right.
mean, disclaimer, not too much information, hopefully not TMI here, but I was listening to a podcast in the shower this morning.
There you
I'm watching my YouTube real estate investor content, and Yeah, I love it, man. Awesome feature.
Yeah, man, it absolutely crushed it, right? A
Hmm.
couple other things, I mean, we talked about that 14 pen house that was in Collingswood. Here is the wine rack in use. I've got another one that we use. We
Hmm.
got this one off of the scratch and dent rack at Lowe's for $90. This
Nice.
is a $400 wine rack in a wet bar that each of those cabinets cost us about $35 each, right? And then that, because like that wine rack that's on the top there was cheap. It was very inexpensive. It did not
Hmm.
cost us as much as you would think to put this whole thing together. The granite countertops cost a little bit. Obviously, the
Hmm.
faucet was about $100. The stainless steel basin came with the granite.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, it's just one thing that opens your eyes. Like, okay, we're going to entertain. So not only did this house have an incredibly sized kitchen and entertainment area with an open concept, but it also had this wine rack in it. And when you're having a party, man, you just have everybody. You throw a couple of mixed drink pitchers out there, and people can go out and
Hmm.
get their ice off out of the bucket. If they got to wash their glass out, they have that option. It's just nice things for people to have so that they can have a great time.
Very cool.
Yeah, man. Um, Now, Phil, I've got a couple more here, but I'm going to show you this one because this one was a little bit more expensive,
Hmm.
right? And when we did this one, we had we were transitioning to more of a color palette on our cabinets, and we had our wine rack, which this one was about $500, but it increased the value of the property. And this is kind of like this is how you figure out like we're going to get into what other features might benefit you when you're selling your house, but here's a big question that people have. How do we know if a certain feature is worth the investment?
Very good question. And I love diving into the psychology of this question. So the way that I was taught through my mentorship, when you're looking at real estate investing is for every dollar you put in, you would love to see a $3 return, right? So for instance, we're just talking the regular nuts and bolts of the renovation. If I say, hey, I want to add a bedroom to this house, right? And then I would do is I would talk to a realtor and say, what would the ARV increase by if I were to add a bedroom to this house in this
Mm-hmm.
area? And let's say he said 30, it would increase it by $10,000. Okay, great. So then I would go to my contractor and say, how much does it cost me to add this bedroom? If it was in the $3,000 to $4,000 range, it
Mm-hmm.
was a go. It was a
Yeah.
green light. Because you also have to consider the reason why a 3 to 1 on those types of things is because you're not only increasing your cost, but you're also increasing the time it takes to do the project usually. So that's why a 3 to 1 ratio is very wise to have. But when you talk sizzle features, in my opinion, I'd love to hear your feedback, is that a 1 to 1 ratio is totally fine.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because the reason being is that there is a value on the back end that is harder to quantify, but you can sell quicker and potentially over asking. Obviously, we understand the quantification there of like you get more money for your house when you sell it. But if you sell quicker, you're not paying as much holding costs as well. Or you not be put in the position as somebody else had just asked earlier too. Tara, it looks like there of if you got to lower your price. Like I'm not saying that's maybe why she's in that situation, but we have ultimately been in situations where we've had to lower our price, and it's just there's these sizzle features can get you above and beyond. Well, one of the things that we looked at to kind of get a little bit of topic here, which was like, and we came to understand through our metrics was that you get one shot really is the way it kind of boiled down to. Is you get this initial buyer pool that runs through your house and you get all these showings. And if you're getting a lot of negative remarks, or if you're just kind of like mundane, like all the other properties that are
Mm-hmm.
listed, it's very difficult to get a realtor to bring back a buyer that's already walked your house after you pull it off the market, lower the price, and maybe fix some of the issues. So you got to be proactive in this area, and these sizzle features can very much help you early on overcoming. And like I said, I don't want to get too far talking because you got to talk about flow, curb appeal. That's a whole nother topic here. But back to your question, sizzle features, like I don't mind a 1 to 1 ratio. If it costs me 1,000 and a gain, and I don't gain anything extra, I don't necessarily mind. I mean, I'm curious to hear what you think.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that at all, as long as my house sells faster than the one that's two doors down.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
Save me the extra interest payment, and I'm more than happy to sell you my house for $1,000 more because you have a wine fridge and they don't.
Right.
Or, I love this one story where there was a couple that was walking around all of these properties, and the wife said to the husband, "You can't make this stuff up. My sister doesn't have a pot filler." That sold the house.
It's crazy.
That sold the house, right?
Yeah.
Now, there are other times, like, Phil, I'm a big softy, right? So we just had this property that we're selling in Palmyra right now, and we just put that on the market on Monday. I think it was it was last Monday, and it sold on it. They did a walkthrough on Thursday. We had it under contract on Friday. Nothing spectacular about the property. We had, granite countertops, black fixtures in this one because it fits the area. But what we had on the wall was a pot hanger, right? An iron rack for pots, and it had some copper pots on it. And the agents were told, in the description, it said copper pots are a gift to the buyer, right? And it
Nice.
was like, hey,
Yeah.
here's some great little copper pots that I bought at the restaurant store around the corner here for like $9 a pot or pan. They're pans.
Right.
I gotta
Pots and pans. Yeah. I got you.
right. There's difference, right? Pots are really
Yeah.
deep, pans are really shallow. So we have the pans that are hanging. There's only about 4 of them, but they look really nice, and it's a little incentive, right? That house went in 5 days. The great part about being a Mr. Softy, here is that little bit of altruistic nature that we have. I got a letter from the kids who are buying the house. They're about the same age, a little bit younger than my son, who just bought his first property, and it was such a hard time for him. They sent me a letter. They just had a baby. They're living with their parents. It's a nightmare situation. They're living in the basement. They needed some money. I was like, they were like, "Hey, we'd love to give you and again, we're at about 10,000 over. And they're like, we'd love to give you this, but we're going to need a seller's assist." I was like, "How about you just give me this 3,000 over, and we split a 6,000 seller's assist?" Does that work? So essentially, we're giving them the 3.5% to put down on their first house. Right?
Nice.
And I'm all about it. Let's do
Yeah.
it. Right? Enjoy the house, guys. Right? But that's fantastic. You get to do something like that. So in this particular case, that little bit of flair, we'll call it, right? Going back to Office Space, how many pieces of flair do you have on your suspenders? I have 4 copper pots on a pot hanger, or
Yeah.
on a pot hanger, right? That's what I have. I have 4. We're doing the minimum here, but it
No,
still sold the house.
yeah. I mean, it's hard to quantify. It's hard to measure, but ask your realtors for feedback. It's not all the time that even the other agents that are walking your houses with the potential buyers are going to give you the full descriptive feedback. You're more likely to hear the negative feedback than you are the positive feedback. So you got to kind of trust your gut when you're going to this. But for me, it's like the wine rack. What house is fitting for this LED wine rack versus what's not? You got to use good judgment when you're looking at this. Like your price point. What was the ARV? What was the sale price point of this house here?
About 410.
410. Okay. I'm talking houses around the 200 to 250 range in Southern New Jersey is not getting that.
No.
I'm sorry. Will they get some, $60 LED, strip lights underneath the cabinet? Absolutely. That's something that's affordable for that price point. So you got to budget these sizzle features when you're looking at your project on the front end. Don't get ridiculous. Don't be putting $6,000+ of sizzle features into a first time home buyer $200,000 home. You're talking 400,000, 500,000. Now, obviously, I'm talking relative to New Jersey here, and you guys can use your own imagination for your markets if you're in Cali or whatnot. Like, for instance, like if Cali, like if I'm at a $500,000 home versus $1 million home, they're different sizzle features and different budgets for these sizzle features that you want to allot. So, for instance, for me too, like, I'm speaking a lot from that first time home buyer range of like 200 to 250 right now. I am doing, sometimes I'll go a little bit higher. I'll do like a heated floor. Okay. $500 to $1,000. I probably can add that sizzle feature, but I could put it in the master bathroom. That's a nice feature. What about calling it a smart home? Right? Have you ever done that? Call it a smart home. How is it a smart home? Well, I don't have internet in there yet, but I have you prepped and ready to go. I've got a Nest thermostat. I got a Ring doorbell, right? I got some features like that going on. That's attractive to the male side of it. You know what I mean? Things, where he's getting his sizzle features achieved in the house that's being shown. And then, the female side of things, what about an LED lit mirror, right? There's both sides of the fence here that you gotta look at and accommodate for. But go ahead, what do you got here for us, bud?
Yeah, man. So we just talked about price points, so I wanted to throw this up real quick because this was a $265,000 house. We wound up getting 275 for it back in 2019. This is actually my first flip, and the one thing that we did that made this pop, and again, it's all based on the price point, right? So we put in a little bit nicer of a faucet here. We put in a
Mm-hmm.
trash compactor, and we had this insert for the fireplace, and that's it. I mean, that's what really kind of sold this property was when they walked in here, and this is an open concept. There's that kind of bends around there to a
Mm-hmm.
little. It can be a dining room, it can be a living room, it can be whatever you want it to be, a man
Well,
cave
you
or
got
whatever.
the hi hats too. You got the pendant lights. You got the
Exactly,
backsplash. I mean, I
exactly.
think I think we all know like kind of what's the not the non-negotiables, but the standard, right? Backsplash is standard, granite countertops and flips, things like that. Open formats. That's the standard. What we're really focused on is the sizzle features, right? Like
Yeah,
honestly, there is a sizzle feature I'm picking up on here, bud, that not everybody does, which is the whitewashing of the fireplace.
yeah,
You
and
know?
that's where I was going at.
Yeah.
Something as simple as that, right? For a lower price point house, all of a sudden it looks like, I mean, I could have left this thing red, probably would have still sold, probably would have sold for about the same amount of money, probably would have
Like
sold for
quicker.
asking price.
Yeah.
Not as quick, definitely not as quick,
Yeah.
right? Um, Whitewashing that fireplace really took it to the next level. The mantelpiece was simply black paint, high heat paint, which
Mm-hmm.
we did to the insert as well to make it match because it was like a darker gray. We got it, and we just painted it with high heat.
Yeah.
Um, so
So yeah.
that really makes it made the heat blow, right? So you can literally shut off your heater in the wintertime, fill up that little insert with an oak log, and it's got a blower on the bottom that takes the heat from the coals and
Right.
spreads it through the house.
Yeah. And this is going back to what I said earlier, everybody. If you're as you're watching here, you have to coach your real estate. I'm sorry, your realtor to
Mhm.
be informing buyers of this stuff. And if it's not your realtor that's bringing the buyer through, how are you going to get that message across? Your listing verbiage, right, is one way to do it. But absolutely put a little flyer together and put it on the counter. Get a stack of flyers and say, hey, these are some cool features you might not know exists in this home that you're looking at. And you want people to know that because you know that, right? Bud, you knew this about your house because you're the one that found the product and installed it.
Mhm.
But that's how can I put it? That's like a usury understanding thing, right? Until somebody uses that, they don't understand the total value. So we got to kind of help them connect those dots and understand the investment that you put in place here. So you got to be descriptive. You got to get the messaging out about what you're doing about your sizzle features too. So it's not just spending the money and putting them in, but it's making sure you get the message to the potential buyers during the showing period. I'm trying to think of some other sizzle features. Do you have some more for us here?
No, that's actually the last of the photos
Okay.
that we currently have. But I was gonna touch on what are those things that, and you already said it, Phil. If it's going to cost you a certain amount of money to put something in, you're looking at three times that when you're talking about an actual physical structure. But when you're talking about the actual sizzle feature itself, how quickly does that get that off your desk, right? How quickly can we
Mhm.
get that property sold? And that's
Mhm.
what this whole thing is all about, right? But
Yeah.
now
Well,
let's,
and you're also setting a brand for yourself
yeah,
too here. If you're flipping consistently in an area, realtors will catch on to this, right? Like I just sat down at closing. Like I told you guys earlier, if you just chime in now, I put a post out there to encourage all of you a $45,000 profit I made in 94 days on a flip. The realtor sitting at the table said, "You did a great product, Phil. Keep it up. We'd love to see more of your product." That
mhm,
is influential to the realtors too. It's not just a specific buyer. This is down the road branding for yourself to people in the industry alongside of you. So yeah, the sizzle features I talk about. So I got heated floor we talked about, right? Lighting features are very wise to invest in my opinion. Smart home technology. A lot of new homeowners love the technology features and aspects to it. Trying to think what else. I love your wet bar concept. If you could put a wet bar in somewhere.
yeah. right?
Yep.
That blue one or the gray cabinets was a butler pantry. That wasn't even a wet bar. It was
Mhm.
very simple. We paid a little bit extra for the refrigerator. We just threw a couple of cabinets around it to finish off an area that didn't have anything. It was kind of non-functional, and all of a sudden now it's here we go. There's an extra
Mhm.
10,000 on the price of the
Yeah,
house.
and you probably dropped 3,000 for it, maybe a little bit more.
Did not even that. 550 for the wet bar. I think it was 36 or $46 per cabinet. I think it was maybe 800 for the granite,
Counter. Yep.
and then we have cabinets up top too. So
Great. That's an
yeah, the
awesome
whole thing
turnaround. Look
might
at
have
a
been
couple
$1,000.
$1,000.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's more of in the feature category, but it's also,
Mhm.
it's a mix. It's a sizzle feature and a regular structure feature, that you're doing there. So yeah, I'm trying to think. So, Amazon is great for this stuff too, by the way, in my
Yeah.
opinion. Think about this too. Now they're starting to come to my mind, like, LED faucet lights,
Yeah.
right? Those things are newer technology. Your Home Depot builder grades or your Lowe's builder grade stuff is not going to have that feature. You go onto Amazon, you find them for much cheaper and find that. What about rain heads in your showers instead of traditional shower heads? Like everybody loves with the cheap little shower head. Tile for me is a decision factor, right? So, in the last 18 to 24 months, with the unprecedented over asking, low of inventory situation we're dealing with, everybody was going towards just doing 3-piece surround kits for the
Mhm.
showers. It was in and out. You were able to save that $600 to $1,000 of tiling it and time. But now, like I said, everybody, we're getting back to the sizzle features. We're getting back to a stable market. Yes, inventory is not there, but because the buyer pool is shrunk as well, it's a balance. It's still a competitive market, for us that we're entering into, that we need to be conscious of the stuff that we're heading back in this direction. So I think the reason why we wanted to get this topic out to you guys now is to get out in front of this wave that's going to be happening, right? It's turning into a buyer's market, right? We know that for investors, the price points are coming down. So what does that mean? You're going to have more flipper products that are going to be coming on the market, and new construction is totally affected right now. Certain areas are still building, but overall new construction is down significantly. So that means that the inventory coming on the market, and I literally just had this confirmed at a closing table, bud, just the other day. They're saying the same thing. Like, these aren't just stats I'm pulling out of thin air here. These are confirmed at the closing table 2 days ago. Yeah, no new construction is really coming on the market. It's very, very little, Phil. Find more flips for us. Okay.
Yep.
Bring them to me, is what I told them. But
If you look at the Federal Reserve charts, new housing builds or new housing starts are up. New housing completions are down. That means that they're buying the land, setting themselves up for a little bit later when the market starts to
got it.
correct, and then they'll start building again. So we're looking at
Right.
2024, hopefully. If you're
So,
if
so
you're
with
in
that
the
being
window.
said, right, we're going up against other flippers.
Mhm.
Is what we're doing. We're going up against other investors with our products here. So go back to the tile surrounds, get the niches in your bathroom, get the rain head, shower heads. Spend the extra few $1,000s in your renovations. Set yourself apart from others. You're going to be very, very grateful. I see Tara in here is messaging a little bit. She's going through a situation. With some stuff. If you want to touch on that, bud, maybe we can help her out a little bit here.
Yeah,
Um,
about lowering the price, inexpensive complementary
yeah.
elements, pop of color. Yeah, a couple of things, cheap, very inexpensive. If you're going to do an open house, and I know it sounds really silly, bring a cookie sheet and do some what the little Pillsbury Doughboy chocolate chip cookies, right? Cook a
Mhm.
couple of those, put them out on the table. The house smells like cookies, right?
Yeah. Well, that's what I do with the air fresheners, right? You
Yeah,
could just go get these air fresheners, get these scents, order
yeah,
them online if you can't get them from your local stores. But yeah, people buy on emotions.
yeah.
That's why, like, I don't want to get too far off topic here, for our viewer here with a concern, but like, curb appeal is important. And the curb appeal, what it's really talking to, one of the major points is the emotional high that
Mhm.
people buy on. So when they're walking up to your property, they're like, oh, the landscaping's beautiful and the front's beautiful. By the time they get to the ugly shed in the backyard, they really don't care because they're already on an emotional high.
Right.
So if when they're walking through your door, right, the front door, they see the Ring doorbell, they walk in, they see open format with some nice lighting and stuff like that, and they smell like some hot apple pie, that's going to play on the emotions of them and get them into a positive attitude, positive mindset. and they're more likely to buy, honestly, is what the statistics and the psychology says. So, um, you know, I don't know your specifics there, Terry, but if you want to reach out to either me or Bud directly, maybe we can help you out a little bit more. But there are a lot of questions that I have that could help guide you in the right direction potentially. There's so many different things. Like I'm sure Bud, you've been in the same position, but like pulling down your listing, relisting it, being creative, and how you do that. Changing the picture on the MLS so it's not the same picture. There's a couple different tactics that you can use in these situations here.
Yeah.
Hopefully, you're not in a position where it was something completely overlooked in the beginning and it's hard to overcome, because then if that is a case, like I've experienced, you will ultimately have to face the reality of the reduction of price to where it's worth what the price says.
Yeah.
So.
And a little bit of low voltage lighting for about 400, $500 can get you a long way as well. For nighttime shots, we do drone photos. So we'll do an overview of the, as it's taking off, it'll do the whole thing and then come back in, and then we'll do a walkthrough, depending on the house and how we're looking to sell it. It's something to be said for putting that out. I don't know what your agent is doing as far as ads.
Marketing. Yeah.
As far as marketing, but absolutely. I cannot understate this, right? Putting it on pay-per-click, Google, Facebook, Instagram, blast it out there. If it's $300 or $400, $500, it's going to bring people to your property. And our goal is to get people to walk through. It's a numbers game, just like just like when we buy it, right? Then if no marketing, just listed on the MLS, you need a new agent. I'm sorry. I'm my own agent, and I paid $500 in marketing for both properties, and one was just coming soon. And then the other one was off the market, on and off the market. We had 21 walkthroughs in 4 days.
Yeah.
We had 5 after we went to contract.
Oh yeah. And even, by the way, that's a great point. When you go under contract, don't pull your listing down. Nope. Let it keep getting walked. Mine kept getting walked and walked and walked. What happens if that offer drops out? You would love to have a backup offer. But definitely you gotta, we can list this. I don't know if that's an FSBO we're talking about here now. Just listed in the MLS. But if you don't have a realtor, realtors bring you buyers. They have active buyers. And if you're dealing with prolific realtors as well, they are usually associated with a brokerage, or they might have their own brokerage and they have a ton of other agents. So they're more likely to network within their own tight-knit community to spread the word. Oh, I have this property. Right. And what I would say is that to get us kind of tied all together here with Sizzle Features, right, Bud? Yeah. We have this, it's like a big casting net, right? So the marketing gets everybody, like the drone features, all those types of things. 3D walkthroughs are probably going to start coming back too, is getting the large amount of people to come walk through your property. But really, the rubber meets the road when they walk through your property, right? So that's why these Sizzle Features are going to be important for you in this upcoming market, as it's competitive and there's less buyers because of the higher interest rates and stuff going on here. We're going to want to be attractive to them. So the good messaging, of explaining what Sizzle Features are there, you can couple that with your marketing, right, Bud? Right? Yeah. You talk about your night shots, right? So like I said, nobody's going to know that you have nighttime landscaping lighting if you don't have a picture of it, because they're going to walk it during the daytime. Who's walking properties at night? They're not. So you got to express this message through your marketing on the front end, and also through, like I said, a great tip is just putting those Sizzle Features on a document, print it out, and keep it on the property. Look at that.
That's an extra $400.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that house is going to sell faster than the one that's down the street? I think so.
Yeah, I think so. I think when you add this, when you couple this with a few other things, absolutely. Like one Sizzle Feature, no. We start talking 4 or 5 different Sizzle Features stacked on top of each other. Absolutely. You are like, it's simple to me now that I've understood it, but I didn't understand it when I was first doing this, because obviously, right, we're first getting started. We're so focused on the logistics and the price points and the construction. I get it. I missed the Sizzle Features train early on too, but then as I started to get settled into my systems, it came to our attention as a team of like, this is an important attribute. And why did I say it's so simple? It's like, think about if you're going to go buy an F-150 truck, no options, versus an F-150 truck, full options.
Yeah.
Obviously the F-150 truck with the full options sells for higher, more money, right? You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So this is literally what we're doing. Even though our houses are not exactly apples to the other competition out there, they are looking in a pool, right? They're looking at, okay, our mortgage price point fits X amount of dollars, right? And we need 3 bedrooms, 2 bath, and this amount of square footage. That's what we're looking for. They tell their realtors, and the realtors say, here's all the listings that fit your criteria. Let's go walk them. So they're looking at a bunch of F-150s. Some F-150s have got, the tonneau cover, some don't. So these features are important, to when they're walking the home. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, unfortunately, I'm not knocking discount brokers. There is a time and a place to use them, but you do pay for what you get. And if you're, again, I can't stress this enough. I use Home Snap, and it's not difficult. And don't judge when you go into that Zillow posting. The house was still under construction when we put it on the MLS. So there were screen doors that needed to be put in. The cleaners hadn't gone through yet, but we were coming soon, and we were already getting calls. So I just pushed the button and said, "Let the feeding frenzy begin." Um, we were not supposed to go on the market on Monday. We were supposed to wait until Wednesday, but we were already getting door knocks.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Kyrie was working on the house, and people were going, "When is this going to be up for sale?" I didn't even put a sign. I didn't have time.
Mm-hmm.
So
So I bet if we were to do it, huh?
There's still a piece of wood here. I'm going to show this because you got to see this to believe it, right? Like, look at the difference between that and this. And specifically, we missed that. He hadn't finished.
I'm seeing your other picture still. You got to get.
Oh, do it?
You only share in a tab, I think.
All right. Let's do that again. Yeah. So we had sharing screen.
So I was going to say, while you're pulling that up, is I guarantee if we were to do like a market analysis of this town, this area that you're going to show us, you have very low days on market still, for all your properties. So this is what it comes down to, people. Like when we're talking about Sizzle Features, like there's the appropriate place and time. I believe in general, it's going to get back to becoming a commonplace as the savvy investors to implement these Sizzle Features to sell their properties.
Yeah.
Bud's specific market he's talking about right here is literally 35 minutes away from mine, and it's night and day. It's two different markets.
This is Palmyra.
Good
luck. We on this property, we didn't even have a chance to clean up the front when the photographer came out.
Mm-hmm.
Right. We didn't have the lighting done. We're waiting for this to come in. This was still left out front. These are now all repointed. The railings are better. We got a new screen door on there. The mailbox was falling down. We didn't even have that righted yet. Some minor things there. And then as we continued on, I'm just going to show you the basics here. It was a pretty good sized backyard. Oh my goodness, there we go. Pretty good sized backyard. And there's, a few other things going on here, like decent kitchen, nothing great,
it's just a demand
house. And it's
you make me think of right now. It's like I have renters that are knocking on my doors at least 2 or 3 a week right now. A quadplex in Atlantic City. We're not even anywhere done. I mean, like we have it, one of the units is kind of like half gutted, and it's just like, are you renting this? I feel like I can just give them the keys right now and sign a lease agreement.
Yeah.
It's just, so you got to see where your demand's at versus what you're doing, because what I love teaching on too, everyone, is that, over rehabbing is should be really high on your priority list of making sure you're not doing it, right? Because it's just basically you're spending money that you don't need to spend. So how do we know like where that line is drawn? That's the art of investing, in my opinion, right? Of knowing what your current market competition is. But talking to realtors is really going to give you the best feedback, honestly. Well, so what happened there, Bud? Did the realtor hit you up and say, look, I've got buyers, we need this thing listed?
No, I'm the realtor. I'm the realtor.
Okay.
So it was very simply put, I was getting phone calls.
Okay.
Because I'm listed on the MLS. So they're ringing my cell phone. Hey, this is so-and-so from such and such a realty. I noticed that you have this listed as coming soon. Is it possible to get into that property before it goes on the market? Well, listen, why don't I just make this? Because after about 3 or 4 of those in one day, I was like, I'm just going to push the button.
So prior, you were expected to finish on, not the specifics, but you were expected to finish how many weeks before you went pre-listing there or coming soon listing?
So when you go coming soon, you have up to 21 days before it has to go active. In
Okay.
this particular case, we were planning on getting done on Monday, cleaned on Tuesday, on the market on Wednesday. Instead, and the photographer was coming out on Monday. So it was going to be done. Then the photographer was going to come through, broom swept and all that stuff. Usually the cleaner comes first. We had a little bit of a conflict with that. So we were like, take the photos, get it on, let's go. So I got the photos in the mail and we listed it. It was, I went hot, and instead of Wednesday, it was Monday, and it was sold on Friday, under contract on Friday.
Yeah. So if anybody's working with a realtor, which most of you probably are watching here, is keep that rule of thumb in mind. And I don't know if that's just a New Jersey state rule or not, but 21 days in advance before you think you're going to finish, go ahead and do a coming soon listing. If you got a high demand, look, like, what did you have to ever clean it ultimately? Did you clean it, or did you just have
we cleaned it. Yeah, the next day the cleaners came out. They came out when they were supposed to come out. Again, this thing wasn't supposed to be done until Wednesday.
Yeah. I'm still
Wednesday. So
I have a rental already rented. I'm still like just finishing like countertops and stuff like that, signing the agreements and getting the paperwork into Section 8. And I'm like, do I even have to clean this place? But I'm just like you. I'm like, no, I can't hand a product that way. So I'm still gonna clean it, But yeah.
And Phil, Sizzle features aren't just in the house itself, but it's also in the words you use in your listing. Right.
Yep.
So I'm going to give you a real quick idea of what I'm talking about here. I want to read to you exactly what I put in I'll give you 412 Main Street and what I put in that description. Pulling up the listing now. And where is it? Remarks. Okay. Have you been dreaming of an incredible house that needs to be seen to be believed? Step into this one-of-a-kind colonial and explore its 10-foot ceilings, sparkling hardwood floors, sunlit farmer's kitchen with recessed sink, and cozy butcher block island. Relax on the back patio or hang out in that bonus space on the third floor. There's plenty of room for everyone. With 5 bedrooms, including a huge walk-in closet, plus 2 bathrooms, all spanning over 2,800 square feet, not to mention new septic and well systems, this won't last long. Trust us. Take a look ASAP.
Yeah.
That day, it went coming soon. That afternoon, I got a phone call. It was walked the next morning. It was sold that afternoon.
Nice.
Right? It's all about in the words. And guys, I'm just going to put this out there. If you're writing and you have a difficult time writing, use someone. Get someone to check your copy. I don't care if it's AI. Get that looked at. Make sure that your words are extremely enticing.
Try Chat GPT.
That's what I was about to say. Yeah.
Yeah. Give it a shot. Right? You got to give it. I see what you did there too. It's not only not the fancy wording, but descriptive wording is what you're using, right? Putting people in the position of feeling and experiencing the home they're about to buy. But you have to also name the specific items. You named your butcher block, right? You named these certain features that you wanted them to understand existed in the home. So yeah. Well, I totally agree. Sizzle features. It's all about the entire approach and what you're doing and what you're installing, right? Yeah. So it's the approach of the marketing about it and the listing verbiage, a flyer in the property or whatnot, things like that. Your photos, So it's the whole approach there is going to help you with your Sizzle features. So yeah. We got a question. I don't know if you have an idea. I can't really speak for California, but any advice for California? She's thinking smart homes and environmentally friendly options like drought-resistant landscaping would be appealing, and still toss in a rain-head shower.
Well, we know guys that operate in California, and when we look, I know we still kind of dabble with the system we used to use, and they have templates in there, and a lot of their landscaping templates are based on drought-resistant landscaping simply for that reason. So yeah, if absolutely use that. That's not a problem at all. And it gives you some pop and some flair. Go for it. Stone instead of mulch works. If you have grass, I don't know what an irrigation system costs out there. Honestly, my cousin put one in and it cost him like tens of thousands of dollars. But if you do have an irrigation system out there, lawn sprinklers, fire it up,
Yeah, I was
let
thinking
them
that
know.
too. Yeah, and you can even do automated smart technology rain irrigation systems. I have that where I can control from my phone the zones and stuff like that. So yet again, you got to explain that and describe that. The other thing that comes to my mind too is it's like when I'm building my scopes of work, because I'm double checking the trends, and that's why I
Yeah.
say check what's actively listed when you're getting under contract with these properties before you're building your scope work, but also double checking also with the realtors too. Like, hey, are gray walls, still the thing? Are we switching to tans? I've got also really great articles too that come out at times, like local articles that are relative.
Mhm.
Sherwin-Williams will put out an article, right? Or they put out a magazine, so you can try to find that, and it'll tell you what are the new trending colors. We're actually getting more towards pastels,
Mhm.
is what they're saying is going to be coming back into play here. But I think like even too, like where do you stand on accent walls? Like do we think that's a good idea? Do we not? I mean, these are things that you want to toss around.
Yeah. And again, it goes to the area, right? Is like
Mm-hmm.
in Palmyra, that's not going to go. They want a plain house. They're looking for a 200, mid 200s. If you're talking about like Moorestown, you'd better have shiplap walls,
Right.
not granite. We're looking at marble. It's got to be like touch on and off faucets with everything in the house is automated so I can touch my cell phone and all the lights go on in the house. The garage door opens, my TV's on when I walk in the front door, all of that kind of stuff. Right.
Yep.
So it really depends on the
Full
location.
home automation. Yeah. So I'd
Yeah.
be curious at the price point in California that you're referring to here,
Hmm.
Jen. I think it is. Because that's what comes to my mind too. Is like full home automation on the plate. Is that reasonable within the budgeting? What is your competition doing at that price point? Because like that's going to become also, if everybody's doing sizzle features, right, that becomes now the norm. That becomes the standard. So now you got to even go above and beyond that standard.
Yeah.
So you can't be below the standard. We're talking about as being at the standard with sizzle features on top. So you got to study your market, study your market. And right now I've been coaching on about you, bud, is that we used to talk about checking your market, getting a pulse of your market once a
Mhm.
quarter. I'm saying every 30 days still, 30
Yeah.
to 60 days, checking the pulse of your market, see what's going on, what's listed, talking to realtors. Hey, how's the activity going? And this and that.
Yeah. Guys, Pinterest is a game changer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Check out that'll give you a real good idea what the trends are in a pictorial sense. You can start looking at what colors are coming in. Like we just in a rental, we were like, it would sell, it would get somebody to pay an extra couple of $100 a month. Let's put blue cabinets in this thing. So we put in blue cabinets, right? Because it
Mm-hmm.
seemed to be hot. And guess what? Somebody went, oh, okay, 1950, no problem.
Yeah, totally. You know what? Last thing too, I would say too is this is kind of on the sizzle features, but it's more about your entire scope work and sizzle features because
Yep.
both conversations can come up. But I will build my scopes of work in the beginning and then send them to my listing agent in
Yep.
advance to ask their opinion and their input.
Yes.
Okay, because like I'm not going to sit here and pride myself and say like, oh, I'm the best designer in the world. Like, why not get some other opinions in it? Like you're saying, and then you making me think too, like my mind just starting to go back to all these old projects I've done now. It's like, I've had a house that had more of a country feel to it. So we put a farmhouse sink into it and we put a shiplap wall underneath the peninsula breakfast island, right? Because it was fitting for that type of house. Now, these things might not just come to your mind naturally as you're a newer investor or even been doing this for a while and you haven't tapped into the resource of your realtors that have more of that lens to say, oh, this would be a great, farmhouse type of featured house, right? Or this is more of a city feel, this area right here. So the modern finishes are going to be much better, right? Maybe you're talking now the gold trim finishes in the modern areas or whatnot, so you have different styles of houses too. So we got to be paying attention that your sizzle features have got to line up with those, your style of your house too. You
Yeah.
can't be putting in modern technology necessarily too much with a farmhouse per se, a
Right.
farmhouse look. You're going to have to get the farmhouse features. What is that? Pantries, the pot. I love the pot holder thing. It kind of makes
Yeah.
me think of a farmhouse feature.
Yeah.
Shiplap is pretty nice decor features for farmhouse. What about dark hardwood floors contrasting against gray walls?
Mhm.
There's different types of approaches that you want to do.
Nailed it. That's what we just did in the farmhouse,
Yeah.
in that big colonial. That's exactly what we did. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. Even your lighting fixtures too. You know,
Yeah.
as I'm thinking about the finishes, like you're doing more of the lantern Edison bulbs are going to go into your farmhouse, right?
Mhm.
Versus like that one light fixture you showed us. That's a more, if I were to guess, that's a modern home
Oh yeah.
finish.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So cool.
Yeah. Phil,
All right.
I'm going to have to punch, buddy.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I've got another call. I always love talking to you and coming on here and trying to get some, knowledge, share everything that you know with other people. So I thank you
Yeah.
very much.
Absolutely. I hope this helped everyone too. You know, like I said, Sizzle Features, keep an eye. They're coming back. Okay.
Yeah.
The market's going to get competitive. I'm excited. I don't know about you, bud, because the last 18, 24 months, yeah, I can get why some investors were excited, but it was over asking, it was paying too much for houses.
Yeah.
Like, I'm really excited to get back to the normal landscape that we had pre-COVID,
Mhm.
where I can buy a house at the right price point. I can have fun with these Sizzle Features, and I can really put my skills to test. So
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, man. It's been a pleasure, Phil, as always. Thank you very much for having me again. It's a
All right,
pleasure to
everyone.
visit with you, buddy. Ladies
You
and
got any
gentlemen.
questions? Hit us up offline.
Yep. And until next time we meet, aim high.